Dear friends, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that since October 7th, Shmini Atzeres, Simchas Torah, that each and every day that has gone by for the last 108 days, our heart has been torn into a million pieces. Sometimes the pain is a little more intense, sometimes it's a little bit less intense. Sometimes the feelings of immense national pride, of tremendous hope and optimism eclipse the feelings of loss, of pain, of absence, but every day it's there. And on a day like today, when we, Rahman al-Islan, we mourn the death of 21 precious soldiers. Those feelings, and the collective feelings of the last 108 days feel like they overtake us like a tidal wave of pain. And like every time that we feel an immense pain, we struggle to understand not really the why. Because the truth is, we know enough to know that we don't really ask why about why HaKadosh Baruch Hu does things or how he runs the world. Because although there's a reason and there's a purpose for everything, but often it escapes the limitations of our human understanding. But rather we more appropriately ask the what. What is it that we're supposed to do? What is it that how are we supposed to process? And how are our lives supposed to change because of the death of these 21 precious sons and husbands and brothers and friends? What are we supposed to do with this? You know, it struck me that the news reports were saying that these soldiers, what they were trying to do was they were demolishing a series of buildings, right not far from the border between Gaza and Israel, in an effort to create a buffer zone, a security zone. Because their job, their work was to create this, clear away these buildings, create this open space that the army could control, that the army could monitor, in order that the devastated communities of the south could come back and build. That was their avoda. Create the safe zone so that those communities which suffered so much death and devastation have the ability to rebuild, and to rebuild stronger, and to rebuild again, and to rebuild with a renewed sense of hope and optimism. That was their job. And in the course of creating a safe corridor for future growth, they died, they were killed, they gave their lives al Kiddush Hashem. And it struck me that there's a pasuk in this week's parsha. The pasuk says, towards the beginning of the parsha, where the Torah says, describing the Jewish people's journey in the desert, brand new journey. They set out, V'Hashem holech lifnehem yomam ba'amud anan lachosam haderech. Hashem would walk in front of our people in the form of a cloud, to show them, to lead them along the way. V'layla ba'amud eish, and at night with a pillar of fire, laha'ir lahem, to illuminate the night for them, laleches yomam v'layla, so that they could travel by day and by night. And the truth is, if you look at that last phrase, it's really extraneous. Let the pasuk just tell me HaKadosh Baruch Hu led them by a cloud by day, right? Protect them from the elements. Fire at night to illuminate the night, give them heat, and that's it. What do you mean laleches yomam v'layla? To walk by day and by night. And I think that the Ribono Shel Olam is giving us not just some historical information, but is giving us a life mission. The job of the Jew is laleches yomam v'layla. There are different periods of life. There are days, the days when the sun's out and everything is beautiful and everything is wonderful and life is going exactly as we had planned. And then there's night. And night represents adversity, difficulty, setback, tragedy. The job of the Yid, the job of the Jew, is laleches yomam v'layla. I have to figure out a way to move myself forward. I have to figure out a way to travel forward. I can't get paralyzed in the enormity of life circumstances. Whether it's Yom or whether it's Laila, to a certain degree it's irrelevant. My job is always the same. Laleches, to push myself forward. What were these soldiers doing? These soldiers were engaged in the sacred task of creating safety to enable rebuilding. To take that Laila that was October 7th, when these communities were ravaged, were decimated, some of them even fully destroyed. And to take that Laila and laleches, to move us forward into Yom, into a daytime of new rebuilding. That's in that moment of laleches, Yomam v'layla. That's when these soldiers died. They died creating a future for the rest of us. Not just for those communities in the south, for all of Am Yisroel. They died al Kiddush Hashem. They were killed al Kiddush Hashem in the process of creating a future for Am Yisrael and for Eretz Yisrael. They personified Laleches yomam valayla. The job of the Jew, keep walking, keep doing, keep growing. And dear friends, I think for the rest of us on such an overwhelming and heavy and difficult and tragic and sad day like today, we have to take upon it ourselves to do that same work. Laleches yomam valayla. Sometimes in life we start off doing things and then the process becomes difficult. Or we have dreams, goals, and aspirations, and then the actualization of them becomes complicated. And all too often, we say, you know what, it's Laila, it's too difficult. I'm going to give up. If it was Yom, I would continue forward. But Laila is so grueling, Laila is so unpleasant, I'm just going to give up. And maybe today, what we have to be makabel upon ourselves is if there is something that we started and we stopped, or there's a goal or an aspiration or a dream or a want that still remains unmaterialized simply because it's become too complicated. In the schus of these 21 Kiddushim, let's take it upon ourselves to journey forward. These precious soldiers, these precious husbands and brothers and fathers and sons and friends, they put themselves in harm's way, they put themselves in Laila, so that the rest of us could rebuild a Yom, that we could rebuild something better. And if that is the sacrifice that they made, then it behooves all of us to move ourselves forward in life as well. So whether you're in a state of life that's Yom, fantastic, couldn't be happier that Baruch Hashem, your life is going as it should be. But even if you find yourself in a state of Laila, of difficulty and adversity, we all have the same mission. All of Klal Yisrael has the same mission. Lalechas, to keep moving forward, to keep accomplishing, to keep growing, and to keep building. And halavai, if in the schus of the Lalechas Yomam Balayla of these precious soldiers, we can instill within ourselves the courage to do the same, then halavai, we should be zocheh to do our small part in providing their neshamas with a beautiful aliyah. The neshamas of these precious 21 Kiddushim should find menucha, Tachas kanfei Hashchina, eternal rest underneath the sheltering wings of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Ribbon Shalom should give chizuk, should give strength, staying power, courage, hope, and optimism to these broken mishpachos, to their bereaved families. And halavai, in the days and in the months and years ahead, may HaKadosh Baruch Hu give them some measure of nechama, some measure of consolation as well. We should be zocha that Eretz Hashem in the schus of us upholding the mantra of our people, Lalachas Yomam Valayla, to journey forward no matter what. We should be zocha to share besoros tavos for all of Klal Yisrael.